Hey everyone, welcome back. Today is August 31st, 2019. In this video, I'm going to be talking about a news story that came up today about an incident that occurred a week ago. In Fort Smith, Arkansas, a woman who was delivering newspapers in the morning got swept away by a quick flash flood. She called 911. And the reason this is in the news is because the dispatcher was very rude to her, and this woman ended up drowning in this flood. And of course, the news focusing on how this dispatcher was acting in the final moments. This dispatcher just happened to put in her 2 weeks' notice on August 9th, meaning that this was technically, literally, her last day on the job. Now, I think this is going to be a very interesting video, and hopefully my voice doesn't give out as I'm still battling a bug here. Earlier this week, I made this video about a toddler who died at an Akira store in Orland Park, Illinois. Now, this video, originally I put the blog post in the organic matrix section because I thought this seemed to be something that happened by the numbers organically. However, after spending more time paying attention to the story and watching the police chief and his conference, I decided there were too many fishy things about it, and I actually put it in the news by the numbers section. This story is the exact opposite. When I first looked at it, I thought it was a fake news story, and I put it in the news by the numbers category. However, I then came across the actual 911 audio call as well as the police footage from the rescue efforts. And that's going to be linked down below underneath this video. So, based on my observations, it certainly absolutely seems like this is a real news story. I mean, you're talking about employing a whole lot of actors for no real, seemingly no reason. And I do believe that this story is absolutely real. Until I think, something else would pop up and prove us otherwise. So we're going to look at this story, and of course, we're going to look at the numerology of the story. On this channel, I focus on the language of Gematria or Gematria, which is the mystical ideology that letters that we speak in our words and phrases are actually numbers. And this is something that Kabbalists pay a lot of attention to. And again, we often talk about how our mainstream media is faking things by the numbers with this code. But certainly, the reason they're doing this is because of the real-life code that's operating all around us every day. At least, I believe. So this video might be a little bit long, but again, I think it's very interesting, and me personally anyway, I'm trying to get to the bottom of why this gematria is so important and what it says about our reality. So let's dive into this. Now, if you're familiar with my work, you know by now that I talk about the number 1331 as it appears to be the center of the eclipse code. The 1331 total solar eclipse, still the only one I've ever seen whose path of totality never touches a major body of water. And I will go ahead and link this post down below as well. Now, in Jewish Gematria, this cipher that's based on the Latin alphabetic order, one that I say is the most significant outside the base ciphers and maybe just as significant as the alphabetic order. Using this method, the word newspapers sums to 1331. Here we have a story about a woman delivering newspapers. In this Jewish Gematria cipher, total solar eclipse equals 704. And, of course, the name Jesus summing to 74. And according to the Gospels, it's believed that Jesus was crucified during a solar eclipse. Of course, Gospel 74, Messiah 74, so does cross. All in the alphabetic order. When you think about how the Hebrews spelled God in the Old Testament, it was G-D, or 7-4. And always interesting, total solar eclipse, 704, kind of like that, possibly like that G-D. In English extended gematria, the other large number cipher I primarily teach, which uses the current 26-letter alphabet, the word drown also equals 704 and 74 in ordinal. Now, if you measure from this year's total solar eclipse, remember, only about 7 of these occur per decade. We find that this woman drowned 7 weeks and 4 days after this year's total solar eclipse. So already we're looking at some pretty interesting alignments that just pop out at me. But this riddle gets deeper. Using the alphabetic order, the phrase solar eclipse equals 134. The newspaper that this woman was delivering was called the Southwest Times Record. Based in Fort Smith, Arkansas, where this occurred, you'll see that they first published their first newspaper in December of 1884. That means that the newspaper is 134 years old. In the reverse alphabetic order, where Z gets 1, Y is assigned 2, all the way through A is 26, the word newspapers equals 134, and the woman who died delivering these newspapers is named Deborah Stevens, which also equals 134 in ordinal. Now, if you watch the video and listen to the 911 call audio, you're able to surmise that this woman was located at the apartment complex. She got swept away from the parking lot here at 5801 Kincaid Avenue. In the reverse order, the word Kincaid also equals 134. And notice how this happened just about a block or two away from a major university, the University of Arkansas, Fort Smith. And notice how in reduction, that university has gematria of 134. And again, her car coming to rest at the end of Kincaid Avenue by this line of trees here before the interstate. This university is abbreviated UAFS, which sums to 47. Deborah Stevens was 47 years old. 47 is also the gematria of total eclipse, also 713 in English gematria. Look at Fort Smith, 47 and 713. And isn't this wild? The last video I did, which I said a young girl died in relation to a total eclipse, was in Orland Park, Illinois, which also sums to 713. So the 911 call lasted approximately 22 minutes. Actually, it did last 22 minutes. You can verify this for yourself. Total solar eclipse equals 202, ordinal. Deborah Stevens has a lot of overlap with the gematria of solar eclipse in 3 of the 4 base ciphers, also the word newspapers, as we saw before. The only number she doesn't share with solar eclipse is 53. But if you measure from the date of this year's total solar eclipse to the date she died, it was exactly 53 days. Also, in Jewish gematria, look at how the name Stevens equals 1030. She died on Kincaid Avenue, 1030. In Jewish ordinal, that's the value of total eclipse, 130. The name Deborah Stevens equals 44 in reduction. She died in a flash flood, which equals 44. Her car coming to rest on Kincaid Avenue, which equals 44. the date that she died had a life lesson number of 44. And we talk about this number frequently. The word kill equals 44. The Hebrew value of kill even ties in to the number of weeks the governor of Arkansas had been in office. Possibly coincidental, but we have made this observation in the past. So we're talking about the Crucifixion code. Again, the crucifixion darkness having to do with an eclipse during the crucifixion of Jesus. Both Crucifixion code and Fort Smith, Arkansas have the same reverse gematria. But when we're talking about the Crucifixion code, we're always talking about the number 33. And 33 in Jewish gematria has the same value as ritual human sacrifice. It's believed that Jesus was crucified at age 33 under an eclipse, which equals 33. The name Judas, who betrayed Jesus, even equals 895. The name Jesus, 985, just one transposition there. Now, the name Deborah sums to 33, just like the word eclipse. In fact, Crucifixion of Jesus Christ sums to 303 in both English and Latin gematria. Now, the 303rd prime number, and I talk about prime number relationships in every video. Notice how the 303rd prime number is 1999. The newspaper that this woman was delivering was called the Southwest Times Record, which equals 1999. Kinkead even has a couple more connections to 33. It sums to 330 and the 33rd triangular number. Now, this whole story is based around the fact that she was talking to a 911 dispatcher. 911 is, of course, the emergency dialing code here in the United States. However, in Europe and other parts of the world, the emergency dialing code is 112. In fact, if you dial 112 in America, you will also get 911. Please do not try this out at home. And what I found out when looking at these dates, if you measure from the date September 11th to the date August 24th, when this woman drowned, you find it's a span of exactly 11 months and 2 weeks. Also, if you measure from the date of this story to the date of the next total solar eclipse, which falls on December 14th of next year, you get exactly 112 days. Fort Smith, Arkansas equals 112 in reverse. And if you add the name of the victim in this story to Fort Smith, Arkansas, you get 112 in normal reduction. The name of the dispatcher, who's not named in the CNN article but is named in the Fox News article, her name is Donna Renault. Her name equals 112 in ordinal. This 466 is an interesting number too, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. Now again, this story comes out of Arkansas. Arkansas was admitted to the Union on June 15th of 1836. And look how old Arkansas was on the date of this news story. 66,909 days old. The word eclipse, using the alphabetic order, equals 69. Now, the 69th prime number is 347. This was 347 days after the date 911. 347 is the Hebrew value of sacrifice. And the CNN article, they gave us a headline which sums to 347 in reduction. Deborah Stevens, Smith, Arkansas, 346. Strange, right? Finally, this story results in a huge controversy for the Fort Smith Police Department, since it was their 911 dispatcher who, she did her job technically. She got emergency services to the location eventually, but she was very rude, and you kind of hope that this woman doesn't sleep well for a while. Certainly there's probably some negative karma to be accrued here, but I just want to point out, Fort Smith Police Department, look at the gematria in Jewish. 1045. And I put this in the bonus because this is not the most recent or next total solar eclipse. But if you measure from the Great American Total Solar Eclipse a couple years ago, it was exactly 104 weeks and 5 days before this story. And the Fort Smith Police Department, right there, they also have a 137, which is the 33rd prime number. Remember, total eclipse 137 and eclipse 37. I'm sorry, eclipse 33. So, this, to say this whole story here tripped me out, would probably be a little bit of an understatement. Again, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of what's happening as best I can. And the way it appears to me is that this seems like a perfect example of the real life code of death that seems to exist in this reality. And, this kind of thing freaks me out a little bit. Again, watch the video for yourself. And if you really think we're being hoaxed to this extent, then I'm not sure what to tell you. I think we just have to agree to disagree. But again, the question I've been asked most often doing the numerology of these news stories is, why do they make the numbers line up in their false flags and everything? And I really believe the reason why is because this is how God is operating, through Gematria. And this is their attempt to play God. So I can't think of a more perfect example. I mean, it's really, really strange. Now, when we talk about Gematria, I think of the word, the last few syllables of that word seems like the same root word as the word matrix. And we were given the film The Matrix back in the year 1999, which again is the 303rd prime number. And to me, this was a roundabout way of cluing us into our reality. Now, in one of the sequels, there's some discussion about previous versions of The Matrix and how people who lived in The Matrix were not happy, or it wasn't working because it was too perfect. It was like a paradise. There was no negativity, so it didn't feel real to the inhabitants. And maybe I'm, smudging up a detail or two about this, but they essentially say that this new version of the Matrix has a code inserted into it in which bad things happen in order to keep the inhabitants fooled that it's reality. And when you think about how death, like real life death, like this story, which I believe appears to be real by every stretch of the imagination. Again, if you feel like I'm wrong, tell me why. Perhaps this is exactly what that movie was referencing, is that death really does occur by some sort of code. And based on that, the inhabitants are a little bit more fooled into thinking that the Matrix is reality. Again, this is the maximum conspiracy theory part of my channel. But again, I've been observing this very closely for about 3 years now, and I don't think anyone really disagrees that Gematria is important to the ruling elite because they understand that Gematria has something to do with our reality. But, you know, I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't cover both sides of this. So, really interesting stuff here. Again, if you have any other viewpoints on this story or any other information, feel free to drop it in the comments. Otherwise, check out the 911 audio for yourself. Check out the police rescue footage. Everything here screams legit to me. So, you know, I'm putting myself out there and just saying that, but let me know what you guys think. All right, everyone, that'll do it for this video. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of your weekend. Peace, love, and God bless to all you lovely souls out there. See ya.